From the city of brotherly love, this is Shark Bite Biz with David Strausser.
He did it again. You just arrived at a newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rock star wannabe host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during complete global chaos. As always, this episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold partner, Stellar One Consulting. If your business is ready to move off QuickBooks, start automating those business processes, and get off Excel, hit us up, stellar1consulting.com, stellar1.io, or just write me, David at sharkbitebiz.com. We'll get your business automated and breaking through those barriers, preventing growth. Now let's get back to today's episode. We're going to be chatting about growing your e-commerce business, marketing, all that fun stuff that you all love. So who do we have today? Chris, and I'm probably going to chop up the last name. You guys know this by now, but Chris Orzechowski. Chris Orzechowski's journey from the wrestling mats of Rutgers University to becoming one of the world's highest paid copywriters is nothing short of remarkable. As a Division I wrestler, Chris's tenacity has served him throughout his life in diverse roles that he undertook, from public school teacher to bartender to even a bouncer down the Jersey Shore. Ironically, almost failing his freshman college writing course, Chris's prowess with words has positioned him as one of the most sought-after experts in copywriting, marketing, and brand growth today. So, hey, without further delay, let's bring Chris right on in here.
Business strategy.
Chris, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, you just became Shark Bait.
What's up, David? Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. Always an honor to have a guest like you on the show. So we have a tradition on the show. Very first question, what's your experience? What's your background? What do you do for a living? How'd you get there? Basically, in a nutshell, tell me, what makes Chris Chris?
I started off originally as a copywriter and worked with a lot of different clients in the e-commerce world and the digital product space. And I started doing that when I used to be a public school teacher. That was my first job out of college. That's what I went to school for. And I kind of built up that business on the side, got really successful at it, ended up quitting my teaching job back in 2017, built a 7-figure copywriting business, and which I then also launched an agency as well to do email marketing. And now what I do is a lot of growth consulting and strategic consulting with e-commerce brands and online brands to help them grow and help them just multiply their marketing capital at a better rate so they can grow faster and more profitably.
Wow, that is great. And, I think that's a good segue into the first question. Okay. You help them grow faster and more profitably. What's the secret sauce? Because I think that's what everybody's listening to. That's why people listen to the show, because we talk about the 3 Gs. We talk about personal growth, professional growth, business growth, and, being able to grow faster in an economy like we have right now is a struggle. So what are tips that you have as far as businesses being able to grow faster in this economy?
Yeah. The lowest hanging fruit for every business that I come across is always email marketing. The reason why is because, if you think out of 8 billion people in the world, like, where is the core group of customers who know you, like you, trust you, are proven buyers, who have given you money before or who are close to giving you money? Like, they're all congregated onto your email list. It doesn't mean that there aren't other people outside, right? Like, obviously you could reach people with advertising, with other marketing campaigns, but the immediate quick cash, the most profitable growth will come from mining your existing database, right? So what I do with a lot of my clients is we set up email marketing systems.
Quick question, because email marketing has come up here a lot though too. What about text marketing? Do you view that the same as email marketing, or do you view text marketing as different than email marketing?
So I view them as like a 1-2 punch, essentially, right? Actually, it's really like a 1-2-3 combo. Like, if you do email, you have those names, right? If some of the percentage of those people give you their phone numbers, you could layer the SMS on top of that. And then if you want to get really crazy, you add in direct mail on top of that. And that's where things get really nuts.
Okay. Because I've bought it. Like, I get, for example, they've been on the show. There's a band, it's called Strung, or a brand called Strung. They actually have a band as well too, Blame Shift. They've been on the show, got their bracelets on. I love them. Gotstrung.com if you love my bracelets. But anyways, they'll send me their emails all the time. And I look at them, but it's really the text messages that get me to just click through, buy through, and do that impulsive purchase.
Yeah, I mean, I have some friends, like I have my one friend Abby. She owns a cheese shop. They have an e-commerce and a retail presence, and she said that like if she needs to close the shop early, she will not send a text that day, because every time she does send a text, she's like flooded, and gets crazy response rates. And I've even done this with a lot of e-commerce brands where email will be a majority of the owned revenue, but we'll send out a weekly text or 2 texts a week on top of some behaviorally driven automations, and we crush. We'll hit $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, sometimes $8,000 from a text message that takes 5 minutes to write. I mean, how hard is it to write 160 characters? Like in terms of leverage, it's absolutely insane. Obviously, like you need to have the list, you need to have people opted in, you need to have good products. So like, assuming you have all those things and you have those numbers and you've been collecting them, the text message stuff is really great. And it's still very early. Like I've been doing SMS since 2017, before anyone like even knew it was a thing with some of my clients. And back then I thought it was early. We're still very early. And most brands, companies haven't even scratched the surface on what's possible with that medium.
Right. That's great. So let's get back. I know I hijacked the topic a little bit by throwing SMS in there, but let's jump back into the discussion as far as the email marketing, mining your data. I mean, I call them nurture lists. Is that what you would call them?
There's different types of campaigns you could run, right? There's segmentation, there's automations you can do based on what segments people are in, or how they behaved or have not behaved. But what I tell everyone, what I like any brand, no matter what you sell, to do is like having, I call it like a behind the scenes of HQ email, where every single week you're just telling stories about your life, about your business, about what you're working on, because that's the stuff that really does build that strong bond, right? Like if you don't have a bond with some random deodorant company on the shelf at Target, right? Like unless like it's just some faceless corporation where they have a product and you say, okay, this packaging looks interesting, and maybe you buy it, maybe you don't. But like if you're a company where the founders send you an email and they're telling you stories and things they're working on, or things that happened within their own life, like you feel like that person. It's almost like a pen pal. It's like you feel like you have a bond with that person. It's like influencers. Like, why do people watch influencers? And it's like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. It's like it's not like educational content, but it's just interesting.
I do not watch any influencers. There are very few influencers I would watch. The only ones I do, honestly, are personal friends that I know that are like Shiny Unsol, who does NLP. I don't know if you know Shiny, but amazing. I'll watch her videos. Or like there's Elizabeth Yang, who also, both of them have been on the show a couple times, where she does a lot of legal law, business law, family law type stuff. And influencer in her space, and that's where like I'll listen to those people. But outside of that, I don't know. I try to limit who I listen to, because I don't want to get bad advice. I'd rather just have him on my show and hear him out. And I mean, I think each show is almost like a masterclass for me.
Of course, yeah. And like, so when you think about all the different pockets of people, though, like there's people who, depending on what they're in, like if there's people who are like into style, like personal style, like wearing nice clothes. So there'll be like these little communities, and there'll be like little influencers or people who like will talk about those things. Or like one of the spaces I work in a lot is like the regenerative agriculture space. So there's like meat influencers, like farmers and carnivore dieter people and paleo people helping people optimize their health in that way. That like these kind of like, not like closed communities necessarily, but like invisible communities that unless like you're in the space, you don't even like know that they exist, because it's just like everyone hangs out in different corners of the internet. So just going back to what I was saying before, like what happens is like people, you'll tune in, there's certain people or brands or just TV shows, even like you always constantly tune in because you want to see what's happening next. And like you could essentially do that with your company and bring people in where they feel like they're getting special access, or they feel like they know you, like you, trust you more than all of your competitors, and you'll always win their business. So going back to like the nurturing piece of email, that's why I love email, because it gives you that opportunity.
I mean, that's why I win a lot of deals. People will be like, hey, David, you're not the cheapest, but I've known you for years, no matter what company I'm with. And they're like, you've got it, just because I know you are going to take care of me regardless of what company I'm with, that if I have problems, you're going to make sure they get resolved. And that's a good feeling to have. That's a good reputation to have.
Yeah. I mean, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, even though you're not the cheapest, they still want to work with you. And like, that's how you create that gap, right? By having that relationship, even if it's a relationship at scale where you're talking to a lot of people, by leveraging yourself via media, which really is everything that we do with marketing, right? But yeah, it's super powerful, and that's why I love the owned revenue sources. Again, it's not the only thing you should do to grow, but it's a really powerful, easy thing to get started with for a lot of brands.
Right. So with e-commerce, let's focus on e-commerce a little bit more, just because of the fact that I work in ERP, as everybody on the show knows. We're sponsored by Stellar One, my employer. We do Acumatica and we do SAP, mostly Business One, but also we do some by design opportunities as well too. My question around e-commerce, can you give a layout of what WooCommerce actually is and how it benefits a business?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different ecosystem than Shopify. You do have some different types of controls where, I mean, again, like the Shopify ecosystem is so big because they have all these app developers, and there's like thousands and thousands of apps, and there's a whole marketplace too for people on WooCommerce, but it gives you maybe a little bit more ownership. Some people like having things run through WordPress, so that's it's kind of the hand in glove fit for people who are using a WordPress site to host their store. My tech guy loves WooCommerce. He actually prefers it to Shopify a little bit, just because he likes really nerding out on all the different like customizations and different.
You can also do kind of like a Suedo EDI kind of solution with it, from what I understand as well too.
I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. What I always look for, for me, like being a marketer, the most important thing is like, can we get data to get passed along between whatever the shopping cart is? Because there's a lot of them nowadays too. I mean, some people are even using things like Squarespace or Wix, which I probably wouldn't use those myself personally. Not that there's anything wrong with them. Just for e-commerce, there's better solutions. But so there's a lot. But like, can you get the data from whatever solution you're doing to sync with people the right offers and stuff that they're interested in, stuff that's relevant to them, so you're not bombarding them with messaging for products they don't want, or for offers that come at the wrong time in their life. So that's the really cool thing, is being able to pass that data between all these apps. It used to be very hard to do this. Like all these, now everything's like a hand in glove fit data wise.
Right. Which is where I fall in place, being the backend solution that kind of ties everything together with the ERP solution itself. So that's pretty gnarly, and that's why I love talking about e-commerce, because my bread and butter is companies that make and move products. Let me ask you this: as a marketer, I've had some of my best referral partners have been marketing companies, and the reason is because they're like, we killed it. Like, we did that good because they were doing that bad with their marketing, and now we came in and we've done that good. They're actually stopping our campaigns or asking us to reduce spend on the campaigns because they don't have the technical systems to stay up with demand. Have you had that happen to your company at all?
The referrals or the demand issue?
Well, the demand issue, where they're kind of like, hey, we can't keep up with demand because they don't have the tech in place to be able to process all the orders they're getting because you're so successful.
So we had a similar scenario, not exactly the same, but we did have one client fire my agency because we made them too many sales. But it was not necessarily a tech breakdown. It was more about the fulfillment. Like, they literally couldn't make product fast enough because the founder was like, I got the whole team working, on creating everything, and we're spending half the week on that, and so they said, we got to pause. So I said, okay. So they regrouped.
Well, that's where it comes down to being a technology problem as well too, because I guarantee you that if I got in there with doing what we do, if we would go in there, we'd analyze their business processes and we'd show them like, yeah, you're wasting 30% of your time doing manual stuff where all this can be automated. And then instead of having people doing mundane tasks, you're able to have them refocus and actually do profit driving activities or revenue driving activities, which delivering product is the ultimate goal. And that's where we've stepped in a lot with a lot of different marketing companies to kind of help them out. So that's kind of cool to hear that you've had not the exact same experience, but you've had a similar experience. Um, the next topic I wanted to jump into with you is as far as entrepreneurship. Okay, you are an entrepreneur. How has that road been for you? I'm sure you've had ups and downs. Tell me a high, tell me a low. Let's hear both of them.
I mean, there's been a lot of notable moments, both highs and lows. Some big ones for me were like when I finally quit my teaching job back in 2017. I was like, wow, I actually did it. I started a business and I'm actually able to live off of it, which is like an amazing thing. And this is still like, 2017 was still, the marketing world was getting more developed, the freelancing world, like, but I would tell people what I did, they have no idea. Like nowadays people kind of know, oh, you do like online marketing, they get it a little bit. Back then people were like, what are you doing? Like, what is this thing? And I was like, don't worry about it. But that, having my, last year in 2022, I had a top line revenue of 996K, which was like cool for me because, it was a little frustrating because I was like, man, I was only 4,000 away from a million. Like I couldn't scrape together an extra, $350 a month, across the last 12-month period. So it was a little frustrating, but I was pretty pumped that I was able to do that. Because that was it took me 5 years to go from 100K to almost a million top line. That was cool. But on the other side of that, there's been a lot of valleys to complement the peaks. When I was starting my agency, I always like to joke that I felt like I was getting punched in the face every single Monday. It was just a new problem that I hadn't had to experience. And I was like, all right, we need to create a system. It's like this bad thing happens. We need to spend money. We need to throw money at solving this problem, or we need to hire someone or fire someone or whatever it is. And it was just like this roller coaster. But I feel like that's what makes you like it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, and like if it was easy, everyone would do it and everyone would be a billionaire and everyone would be, but that's not the way it is, because like it is hard. It's a journey for me. Like entrepreneurship, it's this big giant journey of personal development. Like the more you develop yourself and your mental skills and your mindset and, obviously like your connections and, you're not everything's going to work. Stuff that should work doesn't work. And then stuff that you're like, there's no way that this will work. Sometimes it actually, you get good results. But what I've found is like, if you just keep going, if you just keep going and improving, even if it's just 1%, you eventually get to where you should be.
Definitely 100% agree with that. Now, one thing that we've debated on this show, and I've also debated when I've been on other podcasts as well too, is can you be an entrepreneur while you are still working for somebody else? Meaning that you don't have a side gig, but you're in an entrepreneurial type mind spirit. Like, for example, I'm VP of sales right now with Stellar One. And I have to build the pipeline. I own all of that. And if I didn't have that entrepreneurial spirit where I'm building my book of business, I'm building my relationships that stay with me, I'd say 95% stay with me. Very few end up staying with with the former company I was with, but I don't change companies often. But they end up staying with me. Okay, so my question would be, can you be an entrepreneur in that way while you're still an employee of somebody else? Or do you think that to be a true entrepreneur, you have to own and work on your own business?
Well, I mean, like, I think like Seth Godin talks about like there's two categories. There's like an entrepreneur freelancer, and he said in one of his talks a while back, he was like, I'm actually a freelancer because like, I like doing these, I understand that I have like clients and things. This is a while back. I forget which course he was saying this in. Whereas an entrepreneur, their single goal is to make themselves redundant to the point where they can remove themselves, right? And it might take a long timeline. Like, Jeff Bezos, ran Amazon for 30 years. So like not everyone steps away. But then there's that middle ground of like I believe it's been described, not by me, I didn't coin this term, but I've heard the term entrepreneur, where like it's kind of like the best of both worlds almost, where like you have the creative freedom to say like, this is my fiefdom, my like, area, my sandbox, and I'm going to build whatever I want in here. And by me, having some guardrails around what it is, like Jocko Willink, the podcaster, he talks about discipline equals freedom. Like when you put a little bit of discipline around what, like when you build that actual sandbox for yourself, you can build amazing creations because you don't have an infinite number of possibilities. Sometimes entrepreneurs, like I know myself, like you could take your business any way you want. And that's almost hard because it's like, well, most people who are driven entrepreneurship, they are big visionaries, and there are people who say like, anything's possible and I can create anything I want, because you understand like how the game is played, right? But within a world of infinite choices, it's hard because it's like, well, which direction do I go, right? But when you have, this corral and say like, okay, this is my mission, this is what I want to build, and now I have some parameters around what I'm trying to do, it almost gives you more freedom, because then you can go you can scale higher within the vertical of what you're trying to build. So I hope I'm making sense, but like, yeah. I think you can, like, it's not like whether it's a true entrepreneur or whatever, like, I think we're moving into a world where I call it like people doing projects, right? Like when you think about Hollywood, right? How do they make a movie? Well, so a couple people get together, say we should make a movie. What's the movie going to be about? Okay, we need to hire a director. We need to hire a film crew. We need to hire an editing crew. We need to hire some actors. We need to hire some extras. We need to hire a caterer and book a set and get a shooting schedule. And then like once the movie's done, what happens? Well, maybe the movie takes 2 years, but then they break apart and then they go make another movie. Maybe they make a sequel. Maybe the team gets back together. If it's Quentin Tarantino or Scorsese, they're going to get the same actors that they do for every movie pretty much, right? Sometimes that happens, or sometimes they get a completely different cast. And I feel like with the online world, with all the different tools and softwares and connections and networks, like we're kind of moving more into that place where it's like, I call people doing projects rather than hard and fast. Like, you work at this job, this is your desk, you work here for 40 years, you get the gold watch, and when you retire, like that still happens, obviously. But I feel like in our world, it's just shifting and morphing a little bit.
Right. Totally understand. Right now, you own your own business as a fractional chief marketing officer. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have some one-on-one clients. I also have a lot of clients in like coaching programs and groups, and some courses, things that I have. So I kind of essentially take the same model and just apply to different levels of, stewardship, essentially. Like some people don't necessarily need to pay the premium to have me work one-on-one. Some people benefit from being in the groups, but it's essentially me just taking my marketing systems and applying them to similar types of businesses, similar types of e-com brands.
What's been your biggest surprise as a business owner?
That's a good one.
What about like some kind of odd rejection on a freelance copywriting gig that you did that you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is incredible, and then all of a sudden the client's like, this is crap? Anything like that?
I think the biggest thing for me is like there's two things. Like within like you could do a really good job for clients and still like get fired. Like I told you that story before about, where we were blowing out sales, record breaking sales months, and then we got fired. Like on a logical basis, you're like, well, that doesn't make any logical sense, but business isn't logical and people aren't logical. And so like part of it is that, and part of it is like, you can't necessarily see the whole picture of everything that's going on. Like, because within like me sitting in the founder's chair, when I went from being a freelancer to being a founder, I started realizing that like, Warren Buffett he has this one quote about, essentially like when you promote someone up into the chair of CEO, like most people aren't prepared for that, because that job is all about capital allocation. That job is, where do you put the dollar? How quickly does the dollar come back? How many friends does he bring with him, right? And that's a very different skill set than marketing, than operations, than some of the, sales, and some of these other things. It doesn't mean that people from these fields can't slot in and do a good job. They absolutely can, but it's a way different skill set. So for me, like, as I've been a founder and I had to sit on the other side of the table, right? I'm allocating capital, I'm making hiring decisions to say, okay, this is the right decision now, but then maybe 6 months later, you have to get rid of that person, you have to get rid of that agency or whatever it is, because there's other pieces of the business that need attention or need capital or need focus or bandwidth or whatever it is from you. And even though that person might be doing a good job, which happens, it's just like, hey, I'm sorry, like, we need to throttle back here and throttle up in this other direction. So that was the biggest thing for me, because when you were a freelancer, you never see that side. You haven't lived through that experience, so you don't understand what it's like to have everything, to see the whole battlefield, essentially. So that was probably my biggest eye-opening thing. I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I kind of understand a little bit more. It's helped me actually with client service, because now I understand that perspective.
That is amazing. And unless you have anything else to add, I think we'll probably end on that note. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I would just say, marketing it sounds daunting. It sounds difficult, but as long as you just focus on good offers that, really help people, change people's lives, and putting them in front of the right people at the right time, and multiplying yourself with media.
Show value. Would that be important?
I think the way you show value is by transforming people, changing their lives, by, helping them solve the problem. And like, that's the thing. If your product is great and if it really creates awesome outcomes for people, then as long as you're demonstrating that and, showing people and educating them about the problem and helping them make the belief shift in their mind that they need to say, like, I can go from point A to point B and solve this problem and escape from it, never have to worry about it again, because now I understand why I was experiencing those problems and what the actual solution is. I feel like good marketing does all those things. It does naturally create value in the process. And, the more people you help, the better your business is going to do. So
that is awesome. So we will end it there. Chris, please do me a favor. Tell me, where can people find out more about you, more about your business? How can they reach out, for your courses and any other information you want to share?
Yeah. So if you go to 100yearbrand.co, that is my website, and you'll be able to sign up to get a free copy of my new book. It's called The Moat. And it's all about it's a deeper dive on some of the marketing systems that I unpacked today. And it's essentially, my A to Z system that I use to grow brands. So 100yearbrand.co.
100yearbrand.co. And as everybody knows that watches Shark Bite Biz, we will have a copy of the link down below in the description. Sorry, got tongue twisted. We'll have a link below down in the description, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, audio version, video versions, doesn't matter. You'll see it right after the paragraph. The very first link will be reaching out to Chris. So please check out his business. Chris, you are a smart dude. Thank you for coming on, sharing your knowledge. And I love how you help businesses grow. Thank you so much, my man.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Cheers. Wow, that was an incredible chat with Chris, right? First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. But if you really want to help us out, because Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret in the world of small business, please share us out to your friends, your colleagues, your family, anybody, anywhere that you dwell on the interwebs. I don't care if it's Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever they want to call themselves, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever. I would love to see nothing more than Chris, 100-year brand, and Shark Bite Biz out there trending. Now, first, I just need to say awesome stuff, Chris. Like, that was really incredible. Some really good insight, really compact interview that really just jam-packed, full of info. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your expertise, and please go visit his website, 100yearbrand.co, not .com, .co. The link is going to be down below in the description. Question of the day: email marketing, text marketing, or both? Leave a comment down below on YouTube. Love all those comments. Would love to get more comments. Do you want to be on the show? Interviews at sharkbitebiz.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can join the channel. $3 a month. You will become a baby shark. That's right. $3 a month only. Support the channel. Every dollar in is every dollar that we put out to make this bigger and better. Lastly, we've got to say thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Stellar One Consulting. That's stellar1consulting.com, stellar1.io. If you're in QuickBooks, let's get you an SAP. Let's get you an Acumatica. Let's get the right solution for you and your business running in the cloud. Reach out to me, David at sharkbitebiz.com, or go to the websites I mentioned. And let's get you out of Excel. Let's modernize your business. Anyways, you all know this by now. I'll say it once again. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all again next episode. Cheers.
You've just experienced Shark Bite Biz with Dave Strausser. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show to help us spread the word about personal, professional, and business growth. Want to be on the show? Send an email to interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. Special shout out to our sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold Partner, Stellar One. Get off QuickBooks. Automate businesses' processes and have your business reach the stars. StellarOneConsulting.com or reach out to the show. Till next episode.